Welcome back to the Ball and Breakfast podcast. We are now going to be covering the Super Bowl after two pretty exciting conference championship games. I mean, more so in the AFC than in the NFC, but despite it, it all and everything like that, we got two powerhouse teams, lining up to see each other in the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs, who have obviously, won a Super Bowl in their recent run, have experience there as well, versus the Eagles that, won it all in 2017, but now, return with a brand new quarterback and a much improved defense and a cast of weapons. So should be really exciting. Looking first at the NFC conference championship game between the Niners and the Eagles, in Lincoln Financial, it was a very different game than I think most had projected it to be, in part because of what had happened during the game. But I'll just kick it over to Wayne to start off with, framing that game and kind of what he took away from it.
Thanks, Pat. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I actually watched it at a 49ers bar with a couple 49ers fans. And let me tell you, they were not as happy as they were, last week. I think, you got to give credit, I think, to the 49ers, at least for the season that they've had so far. But it's hard to really win a championship, let alone the NFC championship, against a really, really great team and great defense that the Philadelphia Eagles have, when you're operating from like your fourth string quarterback or or having your running back basically being your quarterback with Christian McCaffrey. So, I guess there's a lot of props, I think, to be given towards the Eagles. They put a lot of pressure on Purdy early on, and then they, kind of took him out of the game with ripping his arm off. Basically, he wasn't able to throw afterwards. So nothing that, I don't think they really passed. And if they did pass, they were just like screens, and the Eagles defense was just prepared for that. They were just going downhill and everything. So, the offense was completely anemic. And then the defense, they can only do so much, I guess, like a really talented Eagles offense. So, this really wasn't much of a game. The bar, the 49ers bar I was at, it's pretty sad. I think after, like, maybe at halftime, I was like, all right, let's talk about next season. Next season sounds pretty good. So, I think there's a lot to look forward to for the 49ers next season. But for right now, the Eagles, I think they were pretty well deserved. And hey, look, I called it too, so at least I got that one right. But yeah, what do you think, Pat?
Man, I mean, the arm issues with Purdy, saying he felt tingles up and down his fingers, up his arm, and then every time he threw it just hurt. And for anyone who's played, baseball, a UCL injury is just, pretty deadly. I don't think any pitcher would be picking up a baseball to throw. So, it happening on the football field with a football, imagine it's just as painful. Not to mention with Josh Johnson, I mean, guys bounced around the league for a long time. He had to hit the 10 for concussion protocol. He was out for the rest of the game. So it was like they're getting down to their last options. I mean, they're talking about Juszczyk or maybe McCaffrey becoming a new quarterback because the NFL has actually taken away the emergency third string quarterback for playoff rosters. So once those rosters are set, they kind of, have to wing it at a certain point, which was kind of what the Niners were facing. So Purdy gave it his best shot, but you're going up against the best defense in the league. I mean, good luck, especially on the road. And I think you and I even said, like, this is going to be an uphill battle for a rookie quarterback in that sense. But what actually was also really surprising, you mentioned it too, is the fact that the Eagles just pounded the 49ers defense. I mean, 49ers are number 2 against the run in just pure yardage over the course of the season. Everybody talks up their D-line, just like, we kind of do with the Eagles. I mean, Eagles, with their 70 sacks, we're kind of in a different stratosphere this year. But in the same sense, everybody puts a lot of respect on the Niners, to scheme, to game plan. And they just got outclassed and kind of embarrassed, to be honest with you, as a unit. So, the Eagles just completely dominated the game a week after dominating the Giants. I mean, conveniently, they were both at home, which they have a major advantage. But in the same sense, it's just like, this team has showed, zero flaws so far to kick it off. I think the only other thing I would say is, going into the half, it was pretty knotted up, pretty close. It looked like it was actually going to be a real ball game. And, the Eagles caught a second win coming out of the second half and basically put it away. So We'll see, what that means going into the Super Bowl, but they've set the perfect tone. I mean, they are ready to go. They now get 2 extra weeks off to let Jalen rest a little bit more. They don't have any other key injuries, so it's just like, hey man, they're in a perfect position now to just, win this whole thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. And I know there was a lot of questions, I think, with Jalen Hurts and, him being hurt and everything. But I mean, he looked okay. He definitely seemed like he was playing hurt and everything. But he made enough plays, obviously, against a very downtrodden 49ers team and everything. So I think Jalen Hurts, he played fine, didn't really, pass too much downfield. I think, given these 2 weeks, I think he's going to be, recharged, ready to go. Have his body healed up. And yes, with that offensive line that they have, I think that'll be a key thing, especially against the Chiefs pass rush. If, Jalen Hurts can sit back in the pocket a little bit, make some plays, throw to, AJ Brown and his wide receiver core, then that certainly sets things up well for the Philadelphia Eagles. So they can definitely utilize, this rest period for Jalen Hurts, basically just to get fully healthy as much as possible. So, I think he was questioned like, oh, how are you feeling? He's like, yeah, I'm about like 80% or something like that. Or I think the thinking was he was like 80%, or I think Skip Bayless might have said that actually. But yeah, it definitely seemed like he was, a little playing a little bit hurt, not 100%. So hopefully he heals up for the Eagles' sake. Because man, that Eagles team, this is as talented of an Eagles team as there's been, really. So that defense, that both lines, man, offensive defensive side, they're just really good. So looking forward to, I guess seeing them against the Chiefs.
We will see. And yeah, we've mentioned that the Chiefs ended up winning the AFC Conference Championship game. That was much more close and a kind of a nail biter as we were, winding down the game. Seemed to go back and forth. Somewhat of a defensive struggle throughout the game, but Wayne, did you have any points to share from that one, just as far as what you saw from the Chiefs and what kind of look forward to with them?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris Jones, to me specifically, he was, might possibly have been like the MVP. Not to overflood all that, but yeah, like the pressure that he put on initially, or that really the entire defensive line of the Chiefs, but him specifically, he owned, was it Max Sharpling, their second stringer there. So like he was making sure that internal pass rush kept on, moving towards Joe Burrow to kind of get him to scramble. I think there's been that kind of comparison between Joe Burrow and Tom Brady, and what's Tom Brady's Achilles heel? Usually it's that internal pass rush, basically, because he's not that great of a lateral movement quarterback, so that's definitely where Burrow, his Achilles heel was met there. And I think that was the key thing. Last year they had, I don't think Max Sharping was the right guard there. So they just had, better offensive alignment in the interior to go up against Chris Jones. They stepped up last year more so. Chris Jones didn't really play that well last year, but I think this season and this playoffs, he's definitely stepped up. Like, this is as good of a version, I think, as Chris Jones has been. And he's just simply something that doesn't get too much credit. I think there's a lot of credit that obviously goes to Patrick Mahomes, which is great, and Kelsey over there on the offensive side of the ball. But on the defensive side, like, he's, was it one of the top pass rushers in the game at the defensive tackle position. So, he deserves a lot of credit being that playmaker there. And yeah, that, Burrow threw two interceptions there. Bengals had a couple turnovers there, and they lost the battles. I think I talked about last week, right? They got sacked, I think 5 times compared to 3 for the Chiefs, and they lost the turnover battle. I think it was at 2-1. So hard to beat a good team like the Chiefs in that state. So yeah, what do you think, Pat?
Yeah, 12 QB hits. I think they had 7 tackles for loss too on the Chiefs side. I know Frank Clark and George Karlaftis were also in on some sacks too. Definitely looked like Burrow was kind of on his heels, kind of confused. Definitely not a performance we're used to seeing from him, Joe Cool. But on the other side, I mean, Patrick Mahomes absolutely dominated in the passing game. I mean, he was pretty sharp, pretty accurate, no interceptions, 300 plus yards, 2 touchdowns. Actually got his sprint speed up to like almost 19 miles per hour, which is what they were saying was like a postseason record for him. So it's like, even with that high ankle sprain, I mean, you still, let's say quote unquote high ankle sprain. Maybe it's just an ankle sprain at this point, but he was showing off his wheels. It's just kind of a masterful, performance from him. Not that I'm super surprised, but in the same sense, only put up 23 points as a team. Little shocking. I mean, not against the Bengals. I guess they have one of the better defenses in the league, but just shows like their gutsiness in this kind of game. In a game that's going to be more of a scratch and claw type of game. It's not going to be a shootout or anything like that, but coming down to the wire, seems like there was a lot of, calls that just kind of kept going the Chiefs' way. I mean, Bengals, ultimately having to punt, which was kind of a foolish decision toward the end of the game, gave up some really great field position to the Chiefs to start off their, last drive of the game. Sky Moore, had about 20 plus yards on a return. I think a lot of us were thinking like, why didn't the punter just kick it out of bounds if, you got anybody back there, you just don't want to give up, free yardage in that sense. But, on that scramble play, we've all seen it. Osai made the, late hit, pushed him into, the sidelines, into the bench there. Pretty foolish. I mean, I don't want to kind of go fully into, what we think of Osai and his decision-making there. It just kind of is unfortunate if you're a Bengals fan. That's like how your season ended. But as I was watching, I was just like, really? Like, is that really how the game's going to end right now? And kind of just set up the perfect field goal, 45 yards. I mean, I think we all kind of knew the game was going to end. But in the same sense, enough went the Chiefs' way and not the Bengals' way for this to be maybe a Chiefs win overall. So I try not to like boil it down to one play or, one foolish decision or something like that. But just a little bit disappointing from the Bengals' end. I mean, I feel like they had a lot of opportunities that I feel like just resulted in field goals or, just wasn't really enough. So, now we got the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl, squaring off against the Eagles and, should really set up a great game.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's going to be a great game. With the Chiefs, and the whole Asai thing, it's like, didn't the Bengals also cough up the ball a couple of times, give up a bunch of sacks, like, and, Burrow had 2 minutes left, I think 2:20, 2:30 left, 2 timeouts. It's like, I know they were, kind of in their own territory, deep in their own territory, but they ought to have thought like, we are not going to give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes ever. And also, the refs too. So if that's the case, then it's like, you got to take ownership of what you can. And, Chris Jones made those plays, got a sack there. I think it was like 3rd and 8. And, that kind of really killed it for them. It put they put them in that position to, it's like, okay, do we go for it on like, was it 4th and 16 or do we punt the ball? I guess we have to punt the ball and see it. So again, they put the ball into Patrick Mahomes' hands, as well as, the Chiefs. So they took the ownership of the end of the game outside of their hands. So I can't just say like, hey, the refs, obviously the refs played somewhat of a factor, but the Bengals, they blew a lot of opportunities for themselves. So I don't have any sympathy for them with that regard. Maybe more so on a side, just because the internet's brutal and everything. And it's like, are we really going to put all the blame on him? Like, he ought not to have done that. But, there were so many circumstances that the Bengals, they just, made some bonehead plays. Even before that could have cost them points or, first downs, things like that. So I wouldn't fault Joseph Asai too much. I like to, give props. So was it BJ Hill? I think he was like right next to him to Asai when Asai was there, taking questions, which, hey, man, that's awesome for, Asai, I think. He's got a lot of courage to just do that. He definitely like felt remorseful about everything, took it pretty hard. But it was nice to see BJ Hill there. Like, he was like telling reporters like, oh, like, no, next question, man. Come on, you're better than that. Like, what are you talking about? It's, like he's evidently sorry and everything. Like, he obviously didn't wish to do that. And before that play, he played a pretty well game overall. Like, he had several pass rushes and hurries, I think, on Mahomes. So, they're not there with a size. So it's kind of one of those things where, hey, yeah, he made a lot of plays before and he just made one, costful play there at the end. But yeah, the Chiefs had, a lot more yardage, first downs, less turnovers, less sacks than the Bengals. So you can't fault, aside for all those things.
Right. And I think Jermaine Pratt's probably the one guy from the Bengals that's gotten like the most airtime on that, decision overall, just kind of calling him out as he was walking to the locker room. He's going to be a free agent, and a lot of executives and other podcasters are like, well, he's the one guy, you're not going to re-sign if you're the Bengals, just because, you don't want to have that tension in the locker room. You also want to have like a teammate who's just willing to kind of throw another under the bus, in one of those situations. So, hopefully karma stays on Pratt's side, but good luck with that. I'm just, just don't want to see somebody become the GOAT, for the loss, and everybody to kind of focus on. It brings back, Bartman, Buckner vibes. And it's just like, it doesn't help the fan base cope with it. It doesn't help, the team move on. And, the Bengals are still in their window here. I mean, this is a tough loss, probably just like last year's Super Bowl, but they have an amazing core. I think Zach Taylor's a really good coach. I think that they can, cobble together a similar roster and give this one, another run next year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they got cap space. They might re-sign some or like extend some of the players that they have right now. So, but yeah, they have a lot of cap space. Like organizationally, they're doing really well. So, and like Burrow said, like the championship window is whenever I'm here, right? So, as long as they have him, Chase, obviously a healthier, productive, talented line would definitely help. So, hopefully they could address some of that this offseason. But and then maybe get a new middle linebacker or some new linebackers there. I think, but obviously they are, I think, equipped for the future. I like their coaching staff. Their coaching staff's really good. It just so happened this game, Chris Jones, like I said, just owned the offensive line there. So, yeah.
For sure. Well, with that, we set up the Super Bowl here, coming down in less than 2 weeks. It'll be in Glendale, Arizona. Philly will no longer be playing at home. Neither will the Chiefs. So they'll both be converted to a dome in nice conditions. But I guess on a neutral field, does that change anything for you, or, just kind of looking at this matchup, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Now, I think that, I don't know if it does necessarily anything with regards to how like the teams play, maybe. I mean, they're both really talented teams. If the Chiefs still had Tyreek Hill, like that maybe, but they honestly don't have those burners, the Chiefs. I don't think they have those burners really. I know they have like Hardman, but he's no Tyreek Hill. So, I think this actually does a little favors, I guess, towards, maybe the Eagles a little bit. That defense, I think, against the offensive line of the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, like their offensive line was, I think, ranked like number 1 or number top 3, right? And then so were the Eagles' offensive line. So, again, it really shows how good a great offensive line can take you. Bears fans, let's get some of that up. Tune in next week for some of that. But yeah, no, like I really like how both teams I think are coming into this game. Right, the Eagles. They're going against a team that they have their 4th, 5th string quarterback, but they took care of business and they made a very decisive win. And they're gonna have a well rested Jalen Hurts. So I'm looking forward to all that. I think it'll be a great matchup. I think of both lines. I talked about Chris Jones having like a great game, and the Chiefs had I think they're like top 3. They might be number 3. I think in terms of sacks overall. So great pass rush there. Their rookies, the Chiefs rookies, they actually made a lot of plays. I think 2 of them got interceptions this past game too. So it's like, a lot of young talent on the Chiefs defense, but they all made plays. And I think that's what's the important part for them. So I don't know. I think this is going to be a great matchup. It's hard to, I guess, pick against the Eagles. Actually, that's where I'm at. Because I mean, that Eagles team is so talented, and but then there's Mahomes, and the Mahomes magic and the Andy Reid magic. So I am actually going to side with the Chiefs in this instance. I think that they'll prevail in this case. So, but what do you think, Pat? Who do you got? What are your matchups?
Yeah, I mean, for this one, I mean, we're looking at the best pass offense against the best pass defense, Chiefs versus the Eagles there. It's like wherever there's a strength, the other team has a strength. Wherever there's a weakness, the other team has a weakness. But, the Eagles also awesome, with the run, and Chiefs were top 10 run defense as well. So it's kind of like they do balance each other out pretty well when you kind of match it up. But I just think the Eagles have a little bit more strength in areas where, Chiefs may be a little bit more vulnerable. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts, if he can establish the pass and keep them on their feet with, his devility to kind of, bootleg it, I think, just being able to drop it off to some of his weapons, finding, Goddard, Brown, Devontae Smith, that'll do like him huge wonders, just kind of going against a more inexperienced pass defense of the Chiefs. If there is one hole in the, Eagles defense, it's a little bit more on the run side, but the Chiefs don't make up for it very well with kind of like their young, running back. So it's kind of like, I like Pacheco, to be honest with you. I like how he moves his feet. He's like really choppy and he just keeps it going. He's got a lot of energy. McKinnon seems to be more of like a pass catcher, more of like a, screen pass type of guy. But in the same sense, it's like, if that's the one area where you can maybe expose the Eagles defense, like you're going to have enough uphill battle for most of the game. And, kind of looking at the Chiefs, Mahomes and Kelsey were healthy enough to, put together a W. I'm sure that a couple more weeks will do both of those guys well, but, with Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney nursing some injuries, it's like they've got more injury concerns for their offense than, the Eagles really do at all. I mean, I don't see many injuries besides, possibly Jalen Hurts just needing a little bit more rest time for the Eagles too. So it's like if the Chiefs, knockout punch is going to be their passing game, and the Eagles can just kind of fall back on that pass rush and then a great running game too. It's like, I don't know. I just, like you, I think the Eagles roster is so explosive on both sides of the ball. The Chiefs is the perfect story. I think everybody wants to, see Patrick Mahomes continue on his chase to, maybe going after Brady's record for, Super Bowl wins and stuff. And, they're a great team. I take nothing away from them, but, I just think this is one of those years, similar to their 2017 run. I mean, Jalen Hurts versus Nick Foles is no real contest, but in the same sense, I feel like, the 2017 team, was in first place the entire year. I think they had one or two losses the whole year and just cruised to the Super Bowl. And everybody just kind of, doubted them or just thought, hey, they don't have enough to get over the hump. But, I think this team is like full go, full octane. Hopefully Jalen doesn't get, worried by the moment. But I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one. And I think they're going to win solidly. I think they'll win 27-20 against the Chiefs.
27-8. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go. I think it's like a plus. Was it +2? I think that was like the last time I saw. Like +2. I guess on the Chiefs side for the spread. So yeah, the Eagles being favored there. So I think I'm gonna go, maybe under that. So whether it's a 1-score game or the Chiefs winning, I like you said though, this Eagles team is as talented as any team I think I've seen, like, in the past maybe 3-5 years, I would say. So maybe the Rams, like, I don't know, again with Stafford, that was a really damn talented team, having the top wide receiver and then having that defense for Von Miller and Donald and Jalen Ramsey and all, even like a Eric Weddle coming out of retirement. So that definitely was a talented team for sure. But from the offensive line standpoint to the quarterback to the wide receivers to where they're at in their careers, like, this is a really talented team, I think, for the Eagles, and they're all playing like, lights out right now. So I get that. I'm just gonna go the irrational pick here because I've been watching too many YouTube channel videos of the Chiefs, and they have a great YouTube channel. So I'm gonna give them the props there, and that's all I'm blinded on, as opposed to looking at the actual talents. So Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. I think that, sometimes we do analysis to a point of paralysis. It's like you just kind of, you know, you go through all the numbers, all the, this should, overcome that in a lot of situations. And I do think like Mahomes having that experience is invaluable in this sense. If there's one concern that I have about the Eagles, it's just how will Jalen Hurts, perform in this game on this kind of stage? Like, will it be too much for him? Like, that would be my biggest concern. And it's like, hey, this guy's up for MVP consideration. Like, that's what I'm concerned about. So it's like, I kind of just have a little bit of confidence that, let's say they don't put up the 38-31 that they did in the first two rounds. They come a little bit short of that number. I just feel like this defense also just hasn't allowed much. And I know we're talking Giants, Niners versus, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I just kind of feel like, in the Chiefs' first two games too, it wasn't like they really, showed out or dominated their opponent or anything like that. It was kind of, stringing along to beat the Jaguars. Same thing happened here. This was a coin toss, I felt like, between the Bengals, Chiefs, whoever, would have won that game. I would have been like, sure, yeah, I could have seen it either way. So, I'm just the level of dominance that's been established, like from Philly, is just it's just something I can get behind. That's all I'll say. Like I've liked them all year, clearly, but it just kind of feels like it's their year.
Yeah, no. And if the Eagles do win, like I'll give them credit for sure. Like that defensive line is nuts. And I think that there's going to be a couple in free agency. Hopefully the Bears nab a couple of them. Bears are going to have a lot of money. So, but yeah, like that defensive line. I mean that from, I guess, an NFL or football fan standpoint, like that defensive line against, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, I think that is a matchup to watch just to see, are they able to get to Mahomes? Are they able to create that internal pass rush to, get him to scramble a little bit? Because that Eagles secondary is also really good too. They got two Pro Bowlers, I think, there, or at least one. I know Darius Slay. But then also Bradbury had like one of the best like PFF rankings too. So it's like, where is the weak spot in this team? And they also have a really good offensive line. Oh yeah, and they also have a really good talented wide receivers, a tight end. So I'm really talking myself out of like this Chiefs thing, I feel like. So
no, it's that crazy, right? Because like you go through the whole roster, just the way they've performed, like the losses they had at the end of the year this year were because Hurts wasn't playing. It's just like, this is seriously like almost a perfect team. Like, and I just, the vibes of that D line just remind me of like the New York Giants, overcoming the Patriots. Like that's going to be stifling. I don't know if, Mahomes can kick it up to 18 miles per hour on his feet. Like he's probably going to need to, or, early and often, but, we'll just have to see like where this one lands. But I'm certain this is going to be a pretty competitive, fun football game to watch.
Yeah, I know for sure. I think it'll be exciting. I mean, Mahomes just in general is a great quarterback to watch, I think. So, any young quarterback, obviously they are going to be looking at Mahomes. And I think he's a great role model for a lot of, young quarterbacks to, maybe kind of emulate too, make things, exciting for us fans, a little less conventional. Obviously, like a lot of quarterbacks these days are practicing, those sidearm throws and how to get them around, big defensive linemen. So I think that's really, he brings definitely an exciting element to the game. So, and hey, like I know he has, his posse that a lot of people make fun of and all that. But if we're analyzing just him as an individual, he seems like a pretty good guy overall. So, and yeah, I think he's definitely somebody to root for, for the Chiefs, or makes it easier to root for the Chiefs there. I think them and Kelsey, like. It'll definitely by the when everything's said and done, it'll be interesting to see like how that stacks up against like maybe Tom Brady and Gronkowski, but obviously they got a couple of Super Bowls there, I think, to chip away for. So, but yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, one other plug I was going to make for this game is this is the first time two African American quarterbacks are squaring off in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts becomes the fourth African American quarterback to be in the Super Bowl with Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Doug Williams. So it's kind of just interesting to see. I mean, I think a lot of the critiques that have been thrown on Lamar Jackson for just being able to win big playoff games, kind of going into free agency, what will be his price tag? Same thing will apply to Jalen Hurts and his style of quarterback play. So, I just think for a lot of the quarterbacks that play like that in today's game and have played like that, I mean, I think this is like, if Hurts happens to win, I mean, that kind of validates, other quarterbacks who bring that approach to the game versus a more pure passer like a Patrick Mahomes who, is nearing the top of the food chain all time as well as he continues to, build a career for himself. But just kind of cool to acknowledge like this will be the first time that ever happens.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I guess, I was thinking about Lamar because he's like one of my favorite players there. But it's like, yeah, if you get him a wide receiver and then a couple wide receivers and then also like a scheme, and this is definitely where, I know a lot of Ravens fans are like, Greg Roman, you got to be more exotic with like, your passing offense here. So that certainly is where, if the Ravens are to continue with Lamar Jackson, right? I think that's where they're headed, right? Is to keep Lamar. I think Harbaugh's come out and said like, yeah, we'd like to get a deal done and everything. So I think that's where they're going. Is just, hey, let's keep Lamar with the Ravens, but then let's get an offensive coordinator in there. I don't know who the names are. They're speculating out there. Whether it's like a Leftwich or somebody that actually has a passing background and knows the quarterback play a little bit, not just like, all right, let's just, get a bunch of fullbacks and tight ends in there and just play smash mouth football, which, hey, has its, benefits here and there, especially with the running quarterback, but that can't be all your offensive play calling. So, and he's young enough too, Lamar. And then there's, still other, obviously a lot of great quarterbacks who are African-American, that are still young and really, have a lot of bright future. Justin Fields, for sure. I guess we can put in Kyler Murray in there. So, some quarterbacks that obviously have, can be contenders or are playing for contending teams. And I think the NFL, there's a bright future ahead for them.
No doubt. Did you have any other thoughts this game or football otherwise?
I guess just one more thing on that is just like, I guess kudos to DeMeco Ryans. He got the head coaching position for the Houston Texans. It seems like a great hire overall. I hope to keep him more than just one season, for the sake of whoever they draft at quarterback, and then for the fans' sake. So, but he seemed very deserving. I do remember him as a player. I actually really enjoyed watching him. I think he was like a middle linebacker for the Texans. Went to a couple Pro Bowls there. So, I think that's a great hire. We'll see what happens if he can turn them into winners there. So.
Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, it's good to see that they're hiring based on merit. The guy was easily one of the best defensive coordinators over the last few years, I would say, and just, on the rise, former Texan. He is their third African-American head coach in a row. So hopefully, at least for the Houston Texans, from like a PR standpoint, they could at least say like, look, the previous two had really poor records. They weren't really, guys we had faith in to kind of carry the torch year after year. We're making this change, but again, like we're kind of staying, true to, what we're going after, what we're looking for. And we kind of feel like we're hiring based on who we think's the best fit at the time. And obviously this is a huge topic. If we look at Steve Wilkes and that whole situation in Carolina where they picked Frank Reich over him, and, just everything that's happened with Brian Flores and, his situation in Miami and kind of a lot of African-Americans, other minorities that have gone for these, head coaching vacancies and felt like, these interviews were fake and not, truly genuine. There could be, and obviously is like a ton of that. I think there's no question there is, but in any case, I'm just glad to see that he's getting the job. This doesn't feel like something that was just handed out because they had to, meet a quota. It's like, no, they picked DeMeco Ryans because, he looks like, a top coach on the rise, and hey, let's give him his first crack at being a head coach for our organization.
Yeah. And I guess it's like my thinking is like, I understand that not always the best, players are always the best coaches and all that. Right. But, why is it always like somebody's white friend from college or something like that has absolutely no football background? Like, I was the water boy. Like, do all these players suck at coaching? Like, that's just what blows my mind. Obviously, like DeMeco Ryan, like, he was an all-pro, former player and everything like that. I understand, like, yeah, maybe he's not, he might not be the best teacher, but evidently he is, being a coach and having very successful track records. But this is just where it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how are these, scrubs from, like Holy Cross or whatever, coming in and just be like, oh yeah, I'll be a coach or whatever. And they just get the jobs that way, as opposed to, somebody that works their ass off, maybe is like the third defensive lineman for like a state Alabama team, kind of is much more of a tweener rather than like a, somebody that's just, highly physically gifted and such, right? Like, what's up with those players? Why are they not getting opportunities? I think that's just what just doesn't kind of boggles my mind. And I there's always that argument of, I guess, of like, oh, hire the best person. I'm like, how do you know somebody's the best person? Like, and there's always evidently those track records of, failed, I guess, white coaches that are just, very like they've coached like two jobs. I guess I think about Cliff Kingsbury, right? He's sucked at everywhere he's gotten. Yet for some reason he's gotten like the best opportunities in the world, and is I think like in Thailand, right, with like a supermodel girlfriend or something like that. So like, what is he got? What charisma? Like, can he cook? Like, I don't know what's his whole deal. But how does he get all these opportunities? Yeah, we second guess Steve Wilkes. We second guess Eric Bieniemy. We second guess all these, coaches, African American coaches with a resume. Yet we give this fucker like, the keys to the city. That's just what boggles my mind. So yeah.
I mean, for Cliff Kingsbury specifically, I mean, to just have coaching relationships with two, phenomenal quarterbacks, those kind of situations, kind of fell in his lap after he, had been a Patriot, had found his way into the college ranks as a coach, and then kind of, again, just kind of stumbled. I don't want to, he found his way into having two great relationships with two gifted quarterbacks. And, the whole Arizona situation, it's like rearing its ugly head now, because it's like, you've done nothing as a franchise but try to appease your star quarterback. And it really just reeks of like desperation and insecurity from that organization to just kind of like bend over to anything Kyler, Murray asks them to. And to this point, they truly have. And, with their next coaching hire, it'll be, really telling just to see like, hey, what direction are they going? Are they trying to establish like the best possible football team they can? Or are they still nervous that Kyler is going to be upset and, not stay long-term? And they're going to be the reasons for that because they didn't try to appease him. So like, I totally hear what you're saying. I mean, I think there's a lot of coaches out there that, truly, you kind of scratch your head and you wonder like, how did he get this job? Like, I don't know, Matt Eberflus. It's like, what, like, where is this coming from? Like, I trust our brain trust right now, in Chicago to make the right decisions as execs. Like, hopefully I see what they saw too, like in the interview process and everything else. But, there's no guarantee with any of this stuff. I mean, you'd like to think that DeMeco Ryans can go in, set the tone, and, turn around the Texans in a couple of years, and, he'll be the next great, quarterback, head coach and everything like that going forward. But, yeah, a lot of this is, based on hearsay, PR, how much they're buzzing toward the time of, needing to hire someone. It's like all this stuff kind of factors in. So it's no coincidence that a lot of these coaches like are taking 3 to 4 interviews at a time. So it's like, it all seems kind of funny, but the ones that stick are really the ones that are, truly special.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. And I like how you, I guess, brought up like relationships. I think that's like a lot of it. It's just, a lot of, I guess, these coaches that come out of nowhere, like they just have really good connections. And, a lot of coaches can just, coaches that have been in place, right, for years or decades that are well connected. They just know a lot of other people. And, I guess they just happen to be, white and everything. And I think that's just like, yeah, where the big, I guess, divide is. And I think there's been like some talk about, getting more like African-American up and coming coaches more involved in like meetings and networking events, things like that with the NFL, which I think that's much more of the right direction, right? How do you know these people? They said they, so-and-so and so-and-so that I met at some networking event, or they worked with somebody at college, things like that. It just seems like, people need to get out of their, country club lifestyle and like venture out, see what the world's like. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think that way, or that direction is definitely the way to go. Because, I think regards to the coaching position and sports, getting in sports in general, a lot of it is just relationships, and that's just kind of how you advance, making sure you're cozying up with the right people and stuff like that. So
For sure.
yeah. Go ahead.
And it doesn't help that 30 plus owners are white too. So as gifted or as smart or as great of a play caller that some of these coaches could be, African American, other minority groups, white, it's like at the end of the day, it's who the owner is most comfortable with. And like you're saying, building those relationships may be a little bit tougher if you're trying to, bridge race and all those divides and such.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But then it's like we see like a coach like Mike Tomlin out there. It's like, and I did listen to his episode of the podcast for was it The Pivot, I think. They brought him on, and he talks about what things he's trying to do more so now, with the African American community and getting more coaching opportunities. So like he brought on Brian Flores as a coach because nobody was hiring him, which is nuts. Like, how do you go from, even if like you were like a bad head coach, but I think he had a 9-8 record, which I believe is the same record that Mike McDaniels had. Granted, Mike McDaniels had several injuries occur and things like that. But still, it's like Brian Flores had a 9-8 record. I think that was ahead of what a lot of people were predicting for the Dolphins. Like, how does he not get any calls? Like, that just boggles my mind. So, that's stuff where I appreciate someone like Mike Tomlin, who's been in the game, been with the Steelers. Has I think he had, I think he's had like one losing season, or like one under 500 season, or out of like what a decade plus with the Steelers. So, that's just. I think there's a lot to be said about that. But then it's like, we had what the Tony Dungy's of the world, the Lovie Smiths, like Lovie Smith with the Bears. I should maybe more articulate there. But like, how's there not more of a push to get, I guess, more African American coaches again when the league is 70% African American? And it's like, again, are they all bad coaches? Are black people all of a sudden bad coaches? I don't get it. So yeah. To your credit, though, I think when the NFL owner is thinking about who do I want to see at press conferences, I don't know. There's some subliminal thing. It's like, maybe they choose some white guy from Holy Cross. I don't know. So,
yeah, I mean, Tomlin, 636 career winning percentage, actually no losing seasons. He's had a few 8-8 seasons over the years. But yeah, I mean, like you're saying, he's made very few mistakes as a coach, and has definitely secured the Steelers' job, probably until he's ready to walk away, because he's just really that good. And hopefully more can see their way, their pathway to a head coaching job soon. I think the push is definitely there. I heard Wilkes maybe joining Flores in the litigation, which honestly, like, great for the push, but in the same sense, like, hampers a guy like Flores, hampers a guy like maybe Wilkes if they're in litigation against an NFL team. I mean, I think any of these owners are also scared of like going through, legal battles with potential coaches, and just what happens if I hire you, you don't turn out to be great, and then you jump on me, for not, doing what I think is what's best for this franchise, or like you didn't push it as far as I thought you may, have the potential to. So it's like, it's a very sensitive issue. I mean, I'm definitely on the side of, pro hiring of minority coaches. It's just, I'm trying to also put myself in the shoes of an owner, and it's like, yeah, man, that on top of it's like pretty scary. And there's already, issues there in developing the relationships, maybe across racial lines, or having that kind of trust to hand the football team over to somebody maybe you're, genuinely don't feel comfortable having dinner with, often, or something like that. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird world. And, at least from the Broncos perspective, they also, traded a first round pick for Sean Payton. So, the Broncos will not be going after Ejiro Evero. So, they welcome in Sean Payton, who obviously is a established coach in the NFL. It probably deserves one of the 32 jobs. But What did you make of that trade?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've already gone all in, I think, with this whole Russell Wilson thing, right? So I think it's just like, all right, let's get a coach that can immediately come in and do something. And yeah, we'll whatever. We don't care about first round picks anymore, apparently. So let's just see what we can get with Sean Payton. I think I was reading like a Twitter thread like, oh yeah, like the Broncos don't have a talented roster. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, most people when they were, the preseason, right, they were predicting, I think, the Broncos to make a run for it, and their team is still young. There's still a lot of players in contract and everything. And that they have a really talented defense, really talented young defense over there. It's just that their offense could not, really make too many plays. There was just a lot of discoordination. Like Russell Wilson had his worst career season ever, and I guess who better to revitalize that than Sean Payton, Sean Payton, he was a person that revitalized Drew Brees' career a little bit, coming out of surgery. Russell Wilson, his player that he looks up to, I think, the most, and he draws kind of a lot of comparisons with, or tries to at least, is Drew Brees, right? So maybe he can, Sean Payton, I guess, who better person to, game plan and scheme, with than the player that a lot of people, I guess, compare to, or he likes to compare himself to, Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. So they have talented wide receivers. They got Judy, they got Sutton. They have a decent offensive line, I guess. They just have some weapons overall. So, KJ Hamler, I think, too, right? So, yeah, I think it's a good hire overall. They have a lot of pieces in place, and I think they just need that person to just kind of, bring them to the next level. And, I definitely see that within Sean Payton. I think this is a great move for them.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton's on the same shelf as Mike Tomlin from a win-loss perspective. I think he brings instant credibility there. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett's like an all-time terrible coaching hire. I mean, we were breaking that down from game one, just what was happening in that end of game situation. And it felt like week after week, we'd watch games on prime time, whether it's a Thursday or a Sunday night or a Monday night. And it was just like, what are they doing? Like, why are they passing there? Go for the field goal. What are you guys doing? Like, stop. And, I think that kind of turbulence and just that negative slide that they started on just continued on and on and on and on. And it's like confidence started getting lost. Like trust was broken. It was chaos all year in Denver. I just think there's too much, in Russell's tool bag. There's too much that he's gone through experience wise where he's going to let this one season kind of derail his entire career. I mean, I think he's too good of a player, and he's got too much resolve, I think, as a player to just kind of let all this fall apart. So I think Sean Payton, brings stability there. Toward the end of the year too, Russell was, really putting up good passing stats. I mean, it's only a 2-game sample, but he did get, some pretty, I would say almost near 300-yard passing games, was positive on the TD interception ratio. Is he was actually putting together respectable, NFL starter numbers. And like you're saying, they've got weapons there on offense. They've got a pretty great defense if they can hold everything together, especially in the secondary. So, you lose the first round pick. It's towards the end of the, first round. I mean, that draft pick's been traded, I think 2 or 3 times now between, the Niners, Dolphins, et cetera. So I think it's the Niners pick originally. But in general, I think it's worth the trade as much as, Denver needs extra talent. But, if they don't make the playoffs, which, might sound like a stretch, I think getting closer to 500 is where they're probably going to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a really competitive division that they're in. I think maybe trying to look into next season, Kansas City, they're going to have probably a similar setup in terms of players there. I think similar situation too with the Chargers. Raiders, who knows, but it's always been a fun situation, I think, with them. So, if they want to be competitive, for the next couple of years, with Russell Wilson, kind of capitalizing on their window, then yeah, they need to act now. And I think that's what they were thinking about with getting Sean Payton. So yeah, there is a sense of urgency. Russell Wilson's only, I think, is 34 now or something like that. So he's only probably got a couple years, solid years left in him. And then, before he, potentially, I don't think he's going to be Tom Brady. So yeah, he was only got a couple years left in him. Takes up a lot of cap space and everything. So yeah, I think the time is to act. The time to act is now. So yeah, good move from the Broncos.
For sure. And hopefully Javonte Williams, recovers and gets back from his injury, because I have a lot of, just faith in him being, one of the top backs in our league going forward. And, that was a huge downer for them as a team this year. And just personally, I want to see him progress, and I want to see, what his upside could possibly be. So with that, we covered the Super Bowl, some new coaching hires, but I guess we'll move on to our final thoughts. Wayne, do you have anything to pitch today?
Sure. I think my request is to have better Super Bowl commercials this year. We've been blessed, I think, with, was it Puppy Monkey Baby in the past, with random companies CEO singing or something like that, or random B-list celebrities trying to get a quick paycheck and pitching certain items that they don't care about. But I feel like, though, we just need better ones. And I think we're at a time, this definitely happens where the Super Bowl is kind of like a national holiday. I feel like it's going to be a good time. Yeah, there's definitely been, I think, some maybe negative news, kind of start the year a little bit. So I feel like we need some good vibes from some Super Bowl commercials. I actually don't mind like having a QR code to look at or to scan or whatever that floats around like Coinbase did. I think it was maybe last year on that. I don't mind that. I just want to watch good football and mindlessly take in some commercials that give me a little bit of a smile. So I say all that with that, and then I guess, Pat, what are maybe some of your happiest Super Bowl commercials that you recall?
Damn, man. Well, you definitely put me on the spot. I didn't come prepared. Shame on me. But I will say, versus commercials, like just picking specific ones, I always feel like Doritos and Mountain Dew just like go the extra mile in terms of just consistently putting out good stuff. Damn it, I can't even give you like one solid example, but I just know those companies overall, I feel like year in, year out, I feel like they have, witty, fresh content. It just kind of strikes at the heart of, the audience, and always gives like some pretty good laughs. But Wayne, if you could please pick me up on this one and just share maybe one Doritos or Mountain Dew commercial that I may be, pointing to, I'd be gratefully, appreciative.
Yeah, I don't know about Doritos or whatever, but I will say I think my favorite commercial was Snickers. At least that brought a smile to my face. I'd say Snickers usually produces some decent ones. There's the one with the late great Betty White now, passed away, 99 years old, a couple weeks from 100th birthday party, RIP. But yeah, she was kind of playing like pickup football, was like covered in mud and everything, was like talking trash. But yeah, like people were calling her up because she was playing, or he, I guess, in this sense, it was a dude that was, playing like, I guess, Betty White, if Betty White were to play playing football, because he didn't eat a Snicker, he was hungry. So, and then his girlfriend or wife gave him a Snicker, and then he's like, oh, okay, I'm better now. So, that brought joy. I think I really appreciate that. Also looking at Betty White, it's like, Betty White brought on so many laughs. So, but yeah, I definitely hold that commercial near and dear to my heart, I would say.
I do. Yeah, I like those personality change ups, and they have the Snickers, and they come back to real life and stuff. While you were talking, I was cheating by looking at my phone and finding one of the commercials that I could point to from Doritos. But essentially, like, there's a guy who's coming to pick up this kid's mom for a date, and the kid is like, copping some attitude and stuff, and the guy's like looking over, and the kid has like Doritos or whatever, and I think he like snatches the bag of Doritos or asks him for some Doritos, and the kid goes, stay away from my mom and my Doritos. And like, it's just like a really, snappy kid on the commercial or whatever. But yeah, in general, yeah, we'll see. I always tend to like the humor out of these commercials. I mean, I want something like witty, funny in 30 seconds. I don't really care for anything like dramatic or serious or anything like that too, or informational, because I'm not listening. I'm just having a good time with friends, like waiting for the football to come back on the screen. But if there's a funny commercial, like I'll definitely stop and have a laugh for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. Some people watch the commercials. Some people watch the football, but then obviously some people want to see the halftime show. I know Riri, I believe, is performing. I think they'll probably have somebody else perform as well. That's usually what they do. But yeah, I know some people will refer to as, I guess, the Rihanna concert that also has football. So
for sure. I guess for my final thought, going back to our favorite food topic, it's my wife's birthday this weekend. So happy birthday to my wife. We'll be going out to dinner in DC. This restaurant we're going to is I don't believe they have a Michelin star, but they're like in the top 12 ranked restaurants for DC. It's an $85 basically like a taster menu. Like you pick meat, and I think they've got like sirloin steak, duck, or rotisserie chicken, and then the chef like comes out with a bunch of different sides, and I think like a starter, a dessert, and everything like that. So should be a fun night out on the town. Not sure if I have any direct questions for you in this one, but the place is called the Duck and the Peach. But I guess Chicago bound, are there any restaurants that are on your hit list right now? Any things that stand out to you as like your next stop from like maybe a more fine dining perspective? Or if you've been somewhere recently, can you share like a name or two of restaurants you've been to in the last month or so?
Yeah, it is restaurant week here in Chicago. I did go to Duck Duck Goat, which is the Stephanie Izzard restaurant. The famed chef of Girl on the Go, One Top Chef. Yeah, Duck Duck Goat is interesting because it's Chinese, like fusion and everything. And I know there's a thing oftentimes within the Asian community. It's like, why are we paying $10 for egg rolls or something like that, right? So, or yeah, when we can go to a place in Chinatown, get like more of that authentic style for just a couple bucks, right? So, but I went there I think last week at Duck Duck Goat. They had like some shrimp toast actually with like some peppers and everything. It was actually pretty damn good. They also had, I think it was like some green beans with like it's like a spicy sauce, maybe like Szechuan of some sort. But yeah, that, and I think we also had some pork bows and some dumplings too, some steamed dumplings with I think like it might have been like a pork belly or I think it was a short rib, some sort of short rib with bone marrow inside. So that was pretty damn good, I would say. Yeah, and then I'm actually going to be going tomorrow to Ella Ellie, which is it's kind of like a fine dining spot like in the Lakeview area. So menu looks really good. It's like Italian Mediterranean shared plate type of place. They have like a nice lounge, nice decor. So yeah, gonna enjoy some good food over there. And yeah, feel free to, I guess, follow my Instagram. I'll definitely be posting, I think, I always post all my food adventures there. So but yeah, Ella Ellie and Duck Duck Goat. Those are two places I have been going or have went to and then plan on going to tomorrow.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Yeah, I remember Stephanie from Top Chef. I actually went to Edward Lee's spot, Succotash, a few weeks ago here in DC. Kind of a Southern style, elevated brunch dinner menu that they have. We went for brunch, good drinks too. But it's like, I don't know. I mean, not everything always hits with fine dining places, but consistently like 80%, 90% of it's good. And it usually exposes me to just meats that I normally wouldn't try or vegetable combinations that otherwise I would probably overlook on a menu or something if I was just going out to, more of your standard sit down or, whatever type of, specialty restaurant you could be, kind of diving into. So I always like the prepared courses too. Like if you can just come out and give me like 3 to 5, maybe more courses, like in a line and just surprise me. I'm like, cool. Just tell me what it is. I'll take a look on the menu, see what the ingredients are. And like, I think it's fun to just kind of play around, and it like definitely inspires like home cooking too. Cause it's like some of this stuff, while it seems like, oh, like how the hell am I ever going to, pull this off? Like some of the stuff, maybe it's not to the same level at home, but you can accomplish a lot with, vinegar or things that you otherwise like wouldn't just pick up and like try to dabble with and stuff. Like I think there's, some interesting flavor combos you can put together at home. That's, nice to get that exposure of when you're out at the restaurant.
Yeah, it basically makes you want to like buy like a food processor or like as a dude, right? It's like, oh, I can make a puree. Like this is amazing. I could go, have a fine dining experience. All I need to do is just make a puree of something, combine it with like a gamey meat, which we talked about, last week and all. And hey, you get like a fine dining experience basically at home. So yeah, I definitely like, to dine out a little bit. Especially in a city like Chicago, there's just so many options. And yeah, just to play around, I feel like, with food, if it tastes good, it feels good, you have, nice vibe, that definitely is, I think, where a lot of these, more fine dining restaurants go to. But yeah, and yeah, like last week, I know we talked about the menu and everything too. Yeah, like it's such a good movie. I definitely think it kind of touches point, with regards to fine dining and how it has impacted culture, I think, for better or for worse. So yeah.
For sure. Well, these are the football guys bringing you fine dining too. I dare say you won't find another podcast out there covering sports that will also, take you inside a Michelin star restaurant and break it down. So I will definitely enjoy my meal this weekend. Wayne, I'm sure you've got some adventures there too on the eating front. But yeah, I guess with that, this episode is a wrap. And we'll catch you next time.